Hello everybody, today we are going to talk about globalization, and later in this video I'll be showing you an interview about individual perspective on globalization. So let's continue with this video. What is globalization? According to me, it's a process of interaction and integration among people, companies and governments worldwide. The world is becoming increasingly interconnected by trade and cultural exchange. Globalization has resulted in, first, increased international trade, second, a company operating in more than a single country, third, greater dependence on the country and global economy, fourth, free movement of capital, goods and services across the whole world. Reasons for globalization: improvement in transportation, freedom of trade, improvement of communication, labor availability and skills. Now, let's jump into the interview.
Hi, my name is Tanupriya Kaul and I'm a student of University of Newcastle. I'm doing my Masters. And can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Nick Kassar. I'm a chaplain here at the University of Newcastle.
Alright, so can you tell me about your job?
Yeah, so I'm a chaplain here. So basically I on staff with Newcastle University, providing pastoral care and friendship to students and staff, as well as leadership coaching and also spiritual and religious direction. So that's basically the job of the chaplain. So I kind of rove around here in the building new space and connect with students like yourself.
Yeah. Can you tell me about your age?
My age? Okay, I'm 37. So I turned 37 2 weeks ago.
Okay, where were you born?
I was born in Melbourne.
Oh, Melbourne, Australia.
Yeah.
All right. How many countries have you travelled?
Good question. I think I've been to about 30 countries, maybe.
Oh, that's a lot.
A few, yeah.
And have you seen any, changes while travelling around the world in their culture, people? Can you just explain some changes?
Yeah. One of the biggest changes that I've seen is millennials, which are people who are, I guess, your age. There's a lot of similarity between millennials in different countries, irrespective of their cultural difference. And so I'll give you an example. I was in Papua New Guinea 2 years ago and spent a few months there in the Central Highlands, and there was hanging out with a bunch of students who were between the ages of 18 to 24, and their behaviours, and they all had mobile phones, and even their dress sense was very similar to my interactions with people of the same age in Australia.
Okay.
And that has happened probably at least half a dozen times. And so I think younger people who are connected through the internet and stuff, there's a shared culture which is probably not shared by their elders and their older people who are older than them. Yeah.
Do you think that globalization has a great effect on those people and those experiences that you told us?
Yeah, I think it definitely does. Again, you're sharing information and ideas and communication, which is transcending geographical boundaries. And so, yeah, it's why you'll go over to somewhere in Africa, and they might be listening to the latest. They might be listening to Tay-Tay's latest album. And you come back here and they're listening to the same album. Yeah, so yes.
So, what do you think globalization means to you?
I think it means a shared culture. It's people who are geographically separated but connected through online and sharing culture, which again I think can be a beautiful thing, but it also has some unintended consequences as well.
So how does it affect on you, the globalization thing?
On me? That's a good question. I think for me, I love to be exposed to different cultures and people and learn things from people and cultures who aren't like myself, so I love that. But at the same time, I feel like sometimes I'm missing something of my own culture. So I find that to be tricky. My wife and I were watching a TV show the other day, well actually last night, and it was a documentary on some of the situations in Barcelona and Spain between the Catalonians and the Barcelonians, and just their cultural rivalry and just the things that they do, the celebrations that they have, and they've just got a rich history. And Joe and I were saying, we don't have that kind of history here, as as Anglo-Australians, and so
Globalization on you has more positive effects or negative effects? What would you say? Pros and cons on you?
It's a good question. I think as I'm getting older, I feel like I'm becoming more open to people who aren't like me and who come from different places, which I think is a really good thing. But also, I'm seeing that, globalization is primarily happening through the internet and the digital platforms, and how the internet and digital platforms can have negative effects on myself, and just in my lifestyle, and just being absorbed in like a mobile phone or a screen, even if it's really interesting stuff that's happening over the other side of the world, can actually take away from what's happening right in front of me. So I actually think that's part of globalization. So,
and what about your family? Effect on them?
Yeah, so if you ask my wife, she'd probably want to throw my phone in the bin. But in saying that, I think, again, on the positive side, my kids, bringing them up, they've had exposure to things that I didn't have when I was their age. Eden's she's a 6-year-old, she's doing an assignment on this particular species of monkey that only comes. She came up with the idea, and it's an African monkey, and she's connecting with it through the internet. Which again, I wouldn't be able to do at her age, 20 years ago. So I think it's both ends. Yeah.
All right. So, what do you think that globalization affects on employment? Like from past 10 years, has it changed or not?
That is a good question. I think you can have people can have different stereotypes, and even kind of identity politics around employing particular people who are from a particular background or race or part of the world, and so that can have negative effects. But again, the converse is also true, where people are more open to, just because someone's different doesn't mean that their skills can't be positive to the company and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a double-edged sword.
And can you tell me about your city, Newcastle? What are the effects of globalization? Is it rising, or is this the city declining?
Yeah, I'm from Sydney, and so I've been here for 4 years. And so one thing that I have noticed is everybody loves Newcastle. There's a bunch of people who've been here for generations, and they don't want it to change. There's another group of people who are moving in, like myself, and gentrifying the area, who see the great opportunity. And there's another group of people who are just optimists and want to see Newcastle grow and thrive into the next big city in Australia. I don't know if that's going to actually happen or not, but I think globalisation has played a part in that. Having things like university, even 2 big hospitals, which connect people from overseas to come and check it out, like yourself, is only a good thing. I do think Newcastle's probably got a little bit more of a way to go in terms of ethnic diversity and including and providing space for people who are probably from the global south. But I don't think that's an intentional thing that Newcastle's been pushing against. I think it's just the nature of design, and I think we're going to see more diverse people coming, being part of it. Yeah.
And what do you think about like huge MNCs like McDonald's? Does it affect you guys in a positive way? Because some people say it's like bad, it's junk food, it's not healthy.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think about it?
Yeah, like my kids have probably had McDonald's 4 times in their lives, but whenever we drive past McDonald's, they like, McDonald's, let's go.
Yeah.
And I think there's something a bit scary about that. I mean, also as well, like I'm not sure about the nutritional value in fast food. But in saying that, again, I have found comfort, whether it's superficial comfort in being overseas.
So Nick, can you tell me, in conclusion, your final words, what are your perspective of you see the world as a global world now?
Yeah, I think like anything, it's complex, but there are a lot of benefits. There's a lot of opportunities to learn and connect with people who are different. And also as well, there are potential trappings. Often when different cultures and people come together who are different, there's sparks and there's conflict. And whilst part of that's natural, we probably have to do the best we can to be wise in how we handle situations like that. Yeah.
Thank you, Nick, for sparing your 15 minutes with us.
Thank you for
so
your.
much.
Thank you.